Honourable Mr. President, Your Royal Highness, Your Excellencies, Noble Laureates, ladies and gentlemen, I stand with you today in support of children's rights and to pay tribute to Kailash Satyarthi, who has rescued more than 85,000 children from exploitation, placed them in education, and pioneered India's first protection laws. I moved from Zimbabwe to apartheid South Africa in 1989 at the age of 11. There, I was introduced to racial segregation, and I suddenly found myself separated from other children. I witnessed the injustice of inequality, especially for children. That same year, the United Nations adopted the Convention on the Rights of the Child, a binding treaty which established universal rights for children. This treaty has become the most ratified human rights treaty in history. I am proud to now live in a country in which children's rights are at the top of the policy agenda. 2 weeks ago, we celebrated the 23rd anniversary of the Principality's accession to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and in 2015, Monaco ratified the Convention on Action Against Trafficking in Human Beings. In 2006, we hosted the Council of Europe Conference on Children's Rights, at which we launched a new program, Building a Europe for and with Children. This year, as a global ambassador for First Aid with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, I launched a campaign to promote first aid for children by children. I am passionate about saving and protecting the future of our children. In 2012, I set up a foundation to end drowning, the third largest unintentional injury killer in the world. In 2012, an estimated 372,000 drowned. Here in India, drowning is the biggest accidental killer of children. These deaths are preventable. My foundation has worked tirelessly to reach over 100,000 people in 27 countries by teaching children to swim, to learn water safety techniques, and CPR. We are gathered here today as individuals who are committed to giving our time and expertise and to empower children. I wish to stress 2 key points. First, we must not see children simply as the beneficiaries of rights granted to them by adults. Instead, we should bear in mind that children have the right to be heard and a right to participate in the decisions that affect them. We should invest in children, believe in them, allow them to speak, and equip them with the knowledge and understanding of their rights. Secondly, I hope that this summit will capture the world's imagination and determination to practically help those children who do not have freedom that they deserve. Ensuring children's rights require moral leadership and action. It requires us to agitate indifference in order to bring hope to the forgotten and a voice to the unheard. For as Nelson Mandela once said, we owe our children, the most vulnerable citizens in any society, a life free from violence and fear. We owe our children a bright future, a future that they are empowered to shape, and one which they can live safe and fulfilling lives as active and responsible citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Highness. I now have the honor of inviting His Royal Highness Prince Ali bin Al Hussein, Director of the National Crisis Management Center, Jordan, of the Hashemite, to make her special remarks.
Dear children, filling the empty seats at every table. Mr. President, since we bring so much more than our official titles and roles to this summit, please allow me to call everyone dear friends. I share all the wise words spoken before me, but it is you, children, on the empty seats that I want to address, and I would like to listen to you. I want to listen to your stories, to your dreams, to your perspectives. I want to hear from you what the most compelling arguments are to convince all leaders of countries, of cities, of institutions, of companies, to implement the rights that you have. And indeed, you have 54 rights in this convention. It is our duty to protect you when you're vulnerable in any situation. But you, children, your power goes way beyond the rights that you have. You have the moral power. You have the power of authenticity. You have the power of innovative thinking that we have lost. Your most important power and sources of power are the freedom of mind and participation and ability to speak out. We adults, we have the wealth, very often the laws, and the facts needed to address the pressing issues we're discussing at this summit. So the question that keeps me awake at night is that how come, despite all that, we have not been able to address and tackle this issue at large scale so far? And I'd like to share with you two spots of intervention. One, it's the minds of adults. And two, it's the institutions, the systems, and the priorities that we've set for ourselves. First, on the minds of adults. Children, I'm ashamed. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry we've come this far. I'm sorry we make you think that we have all the answers. And I'm sorry that we teach you to become just like us. I'm sorry that we beat the dreams and the creativity that you have out of you through the educational approaches that we often take. I'm sorry that we've been unable to stop the demand side for child labor, exploitation, and to tackle the supply sides. And I'm sorry for the institutional neglect and ignorance and indifference that we've shown. And finally, I'm sorry, children, that the wealthy and powerful of this planet are apparently so comfortable that we have not seen the urgency to act. And I truly believe that for as long as we adults have and see no reason to change our minds and actions and see children and young people as equal human capital and unrivaled assets of our societies, we will continue to get our priorities wrong. So you should probably ask us, adults, you should ask us, what do your efforts lead up to? There's not one simple answer, and that's perhaps the problem. We need all concerted efforts and make sure that they add up to something and monitor actual results and not just activity monitoring. We need indicators to show what the outcomes of our efforts are. And perhaps the most difficult thing for us adults is that we need to challenge our own thinking. And most of all, we need to enable platforms to empower you children and young people to speak out yourselves and demand the change. There are 3 levels that I'd like to briefly touch on. At micro level, what I do is I install boards of children in companies. They're like Trojan horse for change. We have now 75 companies who are actually having a kids' council like that. And I see through the dialogue with you children how incapable adults are to open up to children. It is difficult. We need more of those and we need to scale that up. At institutional level, demand that children and young people get an equal say at the table, not as an afterthought, but an equal say. For example, as the Sustainable Development Goals process. That is what inclusiveness means. It means we need to formulate our policies and our measures with young people and children, not for them. And at global level, we need to use the full potential of digital technologies to rally support and break supply chains. Finally, thank you, Kailash Satyarthi, for bringing us together in this magnificent place. And children, we tend to label you as future generations. I think that's only half of the story. You are our main assets now. You are our equal stakeholders. And so we usually take the words of Albert Einstein, those with the privilege to know have the duty to act. But my final message is to you children, teach us adults to find the alignment again between power, knowledge, and morality. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Highness. I would now like to invite His Excellency, José Ramos Horta. Thank you, Imtiaz. We express our deepest appreciation to the Honorable President of India and all our royal dignitaries on the dais for the meaningful and important perspectives that set the context for the ensuing discussions during the Laureates and Leaders for Children Summit 2016. As we conclude our inaugural session, may I request all of you to remain in your places while our Honorable President leaves the dais. May I now request all of you to please stand for the national anthem. While our dignitaries leave the dais, we take the day ahead with a thematic dialogue session. I would like to request all laureates and leaders to take their places at the round tables in order to preside over the circles for freedom, lend voices to our children. Over the next 45 minutes, these smaller circles for freedom will discuss, debate, and consider specific solutions to pertinent challenges that bridle childhood freedom, channelizing compassion through critical opportunities that exist in the world today. Discussions will be thematic, ranging from access to justice, role of business and youth, tapping innovation and technology, creating child-friendly communities, and a coordinated, holistic approach to end child exploitation.